Morena. We have been on the water now for 13 days. This is our 14th day and it's time to start heading north. So we got a little weather window, which is looking good. We should get up to Manganui around about midday-ish, depending on the strength of the wind. We filled up with water, so thank you to Coast Guard and the water buoy here. We're ready to roll. Water maker's sorted, so we'll be running that from here on in. So let's see what the day brings. For me right now, just going to get us out into open water, and then Greg will jump on the helm and I'm going to go and bake some sourdough. We've done it yesterday and it's looking good. Have a couple of pizza bases, so there'll be some pizza amongst the sourdough too. So let's see what our day brings. So just looking back to Taupō Bay, it's been a great anchorage. We've been really lucky. Blue skies ahead of us, possibly a little bit of rain behind us. A few boats will be leaving today if they're wanting to head north. You can see that weather behind us. Hopefully we can outrun it. You can just see in the distance, that's Taupō Bay, a very popular camping spot. Very beautiful. We're motor sailing 5.7 knots and wind is only about 4 to 5 knots at the moment. So we just need to get out of the land shadow and pick up the westerly. Lots of boats heading north. Karwhiti Reef is just ahead of us. Greg just putting out a second line. So we're just waiting for that southwesterly to build a bit, and it is. It's gradually climbing, as you can see. We're now looking at 8 knots of wind, nearly 9, yeah, and we're off. Brilliant, let's go. Well, as you can see, we're under sail. Not strong winds yet, but perfect conditions for being in the galley and making our sourdough bread. The little herb garden is doing extremely well. A little bit leggy, but as I cut some of those leggy legs off, it seems to be bushing up. Coming down to the galley, you can see we've got our sourdough. That's been sitting in the fridge overnight, so it's all ready to go into the oven. We've got some semolina, which we will dust our camp oven with, and that's my starter. My starter is about 100 grams and I keep that in the fridge. I'll feed that when I'm ready next week to make another loaf and half it off, so I keep a starter, and we'll be able to make some pizza dough and some bread. The oven I prepare by putting the oven and the grill on full whack. The goal is to get it up to about 550 Fahrenheit. Oh, we've got the camp oven in there, so it's getting nice and hot. And then when that's up to heat, I can check inside. I've got a little thermometer in there. We can then start the next step, and that's putting the dough into the pan and giving it a couple of cuts and starting the process. So we're just looking over to Taupō Bay, which has a yacht anchor, and I'd say quite a few people there at the campground. We've hit another wind shadow, so we're just motor sailing, just so we can get out into some clean air. We'll be seeing about 6 knots of wind. Well, that didn't take long. The wind's come up. We are scooting away. See a few yachts in the background with the same idea. Let's see what the numbers are telling us. What are we doing, Greg?
7 knots.
Oh, nice. What's our wind strength?
Our wind strength is 14.
Nice.
15.
Excellent, we're getting that
Just a
westerly.
little breeze comes through. I don't know if it'll sustain itself.
Oh, that's good, it's nice and flat. The oven's smelling hot, so I think it might be time just to check to see what temperature we're up to. Let's have a little sneaky peek. Far away. Just leave that another, I think, 10 minutes and we'll be ready to start this baking. Have a look inside this oven. Oh, nice. Temperature's good. We're seeing close to 550. Which is, yeah, about 275, so that's pretty good. Open up our Dutch oven, which is extremely hot, to the point that it's burning my oven mitt. What we want to do is put a little bit of semolina at the bottom of the pan. Then we want to get our dough and drop it in there. This is always the tricky bit, but not impossible. So here we go. It's hoping that it will not stick onto the floured cloth, and we'll go straight into my pan. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, lovely. Beautifully into the pan. Just going to give it a bit of a shake to even it out. We want to give it a couple of slices, ideally at a 45-degree angle, so let's come in with a nice sharp knife. On one side, and then coming from the other side. In there to make it look pretty. Alright, the lid goes back on and that goes into the oven, so it gets quite a bit of steam going on in there for the first half an hour. Being really careful because she is hot. Now we'll put the timer on. Give that 30 minutes and then we'll have a wee look and see what's going on. So what we will do is we will hit the grill off and just leave the oven on. So we're just gonna come down here and flick that grill off now. I think we'll be hot enough. Leaving that oven on full. And let's get that timer on and get back outside and enjoy a little bit of sailing. Well, we're out of that wind shadow, the rain's come, and with the rain comes some squalls. So we're getting along between 5 and 6 knots. The wind's sitting round about 15, 16, 17 knots of wind. So we're on a good trajectory, as you can see. Manganui harbour there in the green. Just keep going forward now. Hopefully we should see some better weather after this squall has passed. In the meantime, we'll let the bread bake and finish our cup of tea. Okay, it's been in the oven for 30 minutes. Let's see how it's looking. Let's check this out together. How nice is that looking? So now we're going to pop that back in the oven for another 20 minutes with the lid off and then it will be cooked. So let's see what happens in the next 20 minutes. As you can see, although there's a squall going through, we're pretty steady in here. That wind's definitely picking up. Easing back off again now. Let's go and ask Greg what the numbers are. So what's the wind now, Greg?
Apparent wind 23.5, but true wind speed is nearly 19 knots.
Nice. And how are we getting along?
6.2.
Right.
Well, we're pointing basically.
Yeah. Not doing too bad for a sailing cat. I can see that weather behind us. Hopefully we're leaving it behind. Backing off a little bit, at 13 knots, still doing 5.3, and there's some blue sky ahead. If I carry my cup of tea into the saloon, check out my kitchen. Oh, it's toasty warm in here. Not that it's actually cold, but when this squall's blowing, you sort of feel a little bit cooler, and my oven is pumping out some heat, so it's very toasty in here. If you look across, you can see some nice downpours all around us. So across there on our starboard side, lots of rain being dumped. Along the back, rain being dumped. Whangaroa looks as though it's clearing. And up the side of the coast here, it's looking good. Some blue skies. And if you listen carefully, every now and again you'll hear a slap. And that's the noise you get when you're on a catamaran. Every now and again a wave will come underneath and give it a good slap on the bottom, and then the table can potentially jump up a bit, so not a good idea to leave a glass of water on there. There's a good chance you lose it. But everything else stays nice and stable. Life is very good. So here's the finished product, and it's really interesting because I decided to do more wholemeal than white flour. As a result, my mixture was a lot wetter, so potentially I may not have got as much rise, but it will be interesting just on flavour and texture, and I just like the idea of having a little bit more fibre in my bread, but we'll see. It's all interesting as you experiment with different temperatures, different flours, even different heat, because you don't have a hell of a lot of control. Well, we're leaving that rain behind. The sun's come out. Looking beautiful. Some gorgeous bays up the coast here. Won't be stopping today because we're heading to Manganui. That wind's gone a little bit more southwesterly than westerly. Only seeing about 10 knots of wind at the moment, but we're getting along at 4.5, 5 knots, not too bad. Making good headway, heading towards Bergen Point, and then we'll start turning, going down towards Manganui. We're seeing between 16 and 17 knots of wind, and we're travelling anywhere between 6 and 6.5 knots. Very pleasant. In our happy place. Okay, so we've just turned the point and we're heading into between 16 and 17 knots of wind. We've got an angle of about 33 degrees, so a little bit of wind in the sail, but we are bashing in to the wind and the waves. As you can see, lots of white caps, but still comfortable, and time for lunch. Check out that beautiful sourdough. So the whole meal worked really well, and we've got some lovely homegrown basil going on there, and some sesh mustard from Pepper and Me. Just the bomb. Alrighty, time for lunch, and yeah, heading into Manganui. A few boats out there, friends on the water following us, so looking forward to seeing them when we all arrive into Manganui Harbour. So we had a great lunch, and now we're just motor sailing, and as you can see, looking at Savvy Navy, there's a good chance we'll be able to sail the last leg. So we'll just get to that next point, and then we will turn away from the wind and hopefully sail into Manganui. Seeing about 10 knots of wind. Chop's not too bad along here because we're closer to land, but as you look out further, there's a few white caps out there, so still a reasonable wind coming through from the southwest. So just heading up to Manganui Harbour, going into our usual anchorage, which is sort of opposite Foursquare. A few buoys to navigate, but generally we can find a spot. There's quite a few anchorages. You'll notice a lot of boats over on our port side. Let's see how we get on finding a spot.